What's going on, Dragon Balls? Welcome back to another discussion video. This time I want to talk about the Child's Wish issue. So a lot of people in the community keep talking about, banning Child's Wish or banning Explorer Bulma or banning Super Shenron and all these different types of things. And I've already given my opinion on the channel about that. I think Child's Wish is the card to go, and I will talk a little bit more about that in this video. But this video is going to address actually something a little bit different. It's you can kind of consider it like a part 2 to the Super Shenron issue that I put up last week. But this is going to be kind of like a part 2 to that. It's going to talk about a little bit of a different topic. It's going to talk about Child's Wish more specifically, because one of the big arguments people give for banning Child's Wish is that if you ban Child's Wish, you hurt all the other rogue Shenron decks that rely on it, which we will get into in just a little bit here. I'll give you some examples. But I think that's kind of like a flawed argument, and I don't think that's a necessary argument for this debate, and I'm going to talk about why in this video. So if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Make sure the notification bell is stay up to date with all awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I do post here. Check out the Discord server in the description below for an amazing group of Dragon Ball Super players. I'll answer any question you have. Great place for new players. And finally, guys, if you're longtime fans of the channel or want to help support the channel, really helps a lot. Check out the Patreon in the description below. Lots of competitive content. It helps me pump out this content that you guys know and love. So with that being said, we're going to talk about this. So the Child's Wish issue, a lot of people think that this card should be banned. A lot of people think that if you ban this card, it's going to indirectly harm all of the rogue Shenron decks. You have like Shenron Maidens, Shenron Broly, like right here. You have you can wish out the Maiden, you can scry top 7 for a new Maiden, and you can get the Big Rebrian evolve on top on turn 3 or turn 2, that kind of thing. And then you have the like a Broly Child's Wish deck where you have the Child's Wish to bring out the Endless Evolution Broly, and then you can really cheap evolve the 6-drop Broly on top of that. Let's call those 2 rogue Shenron decks. Now, people argue that if you hit Child's Wish, if you ban Child's Wish, you limit Child's Wish to 1, you're going to, hurt these decks indirectly. Well, what I'm going to say to that is these decks already are not being played. You might be playing them at your locals, you might be having a good time with them at your casual locals, but at a competitive level, at a regional level, or at a competitive locals level, these decks are already unplayable. And why are they unplayable? Because Super Shenron exists, because AOD Boo exists. These types of things exist because of Child's Wish, and these kind of things already push these rogue Shenron decks out of relativity, out of relevance. So I don't think that's like necessarily a great argument to present when you want Child's Wish to exist, because you have a bias in terms of your deck choice. And I'm not saying you have a bias, you're a terrible person, or you have an issue, anything like that. I'm just saying that I think you should think about it in relative health to the entire game, because if Child's Wish still exists, if Child's Wish still goes unbanned, your rogue Shenron deck is still unplayable, at least in the face of the meta, at least in the face of Super Shenron, and at least in the face of AOD Boo, that both also abuse that same card, Child's Wish. And another argument that I see for this card is that people want it to be limited to once per turn. And I think with that being the case, I think that Super Shenron would probably die down in popularity. I don't think it would be as abusable and as rampant. But I still think we'd have the issue of Agent of Destruction Boo. Now, I think Agent of Destruction Boo would probably just shoot up to the best deck, because that deck only needs to resolve 1 Child's Wish per turn to win the game. Usually, if they resolve 1 Child's Wish on turn 3, they're usually going to win the game right then and there. And if they can resolve 1 Child's Wish on turn 3 and then another Child's Wish on turn 4, they're going to win the game that way. The Agent of Destruction deck, if you guys don't know, you play the Child's Wish, you bring out this surprise attack Majin Buu, you search your 5-drop evolve, you evolve on top of this, you put a Babidi under it, you bring out the SCR Buu that came out in set 6, and you spam the board with 5 attackers. I do think that would come up to be the best deck in the format if Super Shenron was to get hit indirectly by limiting wishes or desires to 1. I know that's a very debatable topic. I know that's not definitely a clear-cut answer. That is my opinion. However, I tested the AOD Boo deck a lot, and you pretty much always resolve your combo on turn 3 with 5 attackers on board. It almost always happens. It's like 1 in 100 chance that you're gonna draw the SCR Boo after putting it back in the deck with Bulma. That's not going to happen all the time. And from personally testing the deck, I know that it's very, very consistent in what it does. And that still pigeonholes us into a format where you have to play yellow for Nimbus and Crusher Ball, and not a lot of other colors can compete in a format like that. I will say that red can do some things in a format where AOD Boo is dominant, because Is That All You Got is really, really good, and like the Senzu Bean Negate, Unending Awakening is kind of decent against a deck like that. But that's what I will say about that. I don't think that limiting Child's Wish or limiting desires to once per turn is the right answer either, because then you have a powerful deck like Agent of Destruction Boo running rampant like that. So what does that lead me to? Well, I think Child's Wish should be banned, and I have talked about this in previous videos, but this is more of a rebuttal to that specific argument of either just banning cards like Bulma or Super Shenron to hit Super Shenron decks, or hitting Desires to once per turn to kind of halt the Super Shenron deck, because I don't think either of those are good answers. Just to recap previously, if you just ban Super Shenron or Explorer Bulma, you'll still have the AOD Boo issue, and your other decks are still not going to be playable. Your Rogue decks, your Rogue Shadow decks are not going to be playable. If you limit Desires to once per turn, AOD Boo, in my opinion, will run very rampantly. The third argument people give is that if you hit Child's Wish, there will be no relevant Shenron decks. You can't play a Shenron deck because there's no good plays for it. Like there'll be no other good Shenron deck in the format, this and that. Well, the prior argument still follows that your Rogue Shadow decks still aren't playable. But the other thing is, I have the Dende Piccolo leader right here. This is a very playable, very meta relevant, and very strong Wish deck that does not play Child's Wish in any medium. Like, this deck is still very powerful because it abuses the 2-drop Wish that revives Friezas, and then it abuses all the 4-drop Friezas in the game. And that's still a very, very powerful deck that does not abuse Child's Wish. And that leads me to my next point of banning Child's Wish. I think banning Child's Wish is the right way to do it for a few reasons. One of which, Dragon Radar here. I want to talk about this real quick. A lot of people want Dragon Radar to be banned because they think if you ban Dragon Radar, then you can't re-loop the Child's Wishes, and that's going to, solve the problem. I really don't think that's going to solve the problem. In my opinion, while Radar is incredibly powerful, a lot of times it's a win more card in terms of, reusing your Child's Wish for the 6 and 7 times really, really good, but using your Child's Wish the first 4 times was already good enough, right? And in that sense, I think I think Radar is only as good as the wishes it can grab back, right? And just from personal experience testing the Dende Piccolo deck, Dragon Radar is incredibly good at grabbing back your Revival of the Emperors. Is really helpful, and it really, really works, but the deck is so clunky in extra cards that I only play 2 Radar, and a lot of people only play 2 Radar in that deck because it just gets so clunky on extra cards. And that's one of the drawbacks of playing a Wish leader, playing a Shenron leader. You have so many extra cards. But the thing about the Super Shenron deck is that Child's Wish just becomes straight gas. It becomes a Bulma that restands your energy and draws a card and mills your deck, or it becomes a surprise attack Majin Buu that spams 6 attackers onto the board, 7 if your leader's awakened and able to attack. So that's my opinion why I think Child's Wish needs to be banned and not necessarily Radar. So I have Child's Wish and World Peace both pictured here for basically that reason. The thing I think about it that makes it necessary for it to be banned is that these cards are too generic. You might think that Super Shenron's a problem, you might think AOD Boo's a problem, you might think neither of them are problems, but let's just say you do think they're problems, right? And let's say your opinion is you want Bulma to be banned, and you want the 3-drop Boo to be banned, or you want maybe Super Shenron as a leader to be banned, or maybe you want AOD Dende, maybe you want the Dende leader to be banned. Well, if you look at both those decks, and if you do consider them problem decks, there's one common denominator there. It's not Bulma, it's not Super Shenron, it's not Dende, it's not the 3-drop Boo. It's Child's Wish. Child's Wish is the common denominator there. So I think this is a pretty clear-cut way of seeing it, and let me know down in the comments below if you disagree with me. If you were to ban Bulma and you were to ban the 3-drop Boo, the next OP 3-drop 15k attacker is just going to break Child's Wish again. And that's what leads me to believe that Child's Wish is broken. With Child's Wish and World Peace to an extent existing in the format, you have to tiptoe around these cards in order to not make anything busted. And World Peace has free reign on any card in the game as long as you have 4 energy or more. World Peace literally does not have a restriction unless the card says it must be played from hand, right? And that's another way that Bandai has to tiptoe around these cards in order to not make anything busted. These cards come from a design era, in my opinion, where Bandai was really not accounting for what they would make in the future or what had been created in the past. And that's how Child's Wish and World Peace came to be so busted. We saw World Peace make some really dumb plays when Shenron Gogeta was a more relevant deck, and we see Child's Wish making really dumb plays now with cards that probably weren't intended to be used with it. But that's the matter of the fact right now, is that these cards are way too generic in my opinion, and they just lead to really faulty design flaws. So you might be curious as to why I have Fount of Spirit and Plea for Salvation up here on the screen. I'm going to talk about why right now. So I think that if you were to ban Child's Wish and maybe World Peace is a bit more debatable, but I also think this card is just another card waiting to be broken. Even if the format slows down, World Peace becomes infinitely better. And maybe World Peace will never be broken, who knows, but these are just my opinions. So if you were to ban Child's Wish and World Peace, the argument I mentioned before is that people will say, oh, you can't have a relevant Wish deck, period. Well, I kind of already disproved that with Dende Wish, but even moving forward, We have Fountain of Spirit. Real quick, I'm going to explain what it does. This card gains Desire in all areas. If your leader card's a blue Shenron, choose one blue sand card in your drop area with 15k or less power, and 2 drop or less, and play it. If you do, place top card of your deck under the card you play with this skill. Then we have Plea for Salvation. It's a green 4-drop extra card, gains Desire in all areas. If your leader is a Shenron, choose one green battle card in your drop area with energy cost less than or equal to your current energy and play it. Then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 2 or less and KO it. So Plea for Salvation is basically a world peace that only lets you summon back green battle cards, and it can pop a 2-drop or less. Fountain of Spirit is almost like a Child's Wish, except it's restricted to blue sand cards, and your leader has to be a blue Shenron leader, and it can only be a 2-drop or less, not a 3-drop or less. So my point going forward is that you can print, or Bandai can print, more balanced cards going forward that still reborn things, you know, like Fountain of Spirit. As new 2-drop 15k blue sands come out, will get better and better, and they can print new blue sands that are going to make this card really, really good one day. That's just a matter of the fact. Plea for Salvation, I think this card already has potential, especially if the format was to slow down. If Childish was to be banned, I think this card would become very good. I think you can play a Childish deck that plays SS4 Goku, that plays Plea for Salvation. I think that card and that combo will be very, very good. The thing is that these cards, they kind of pigeonhole you into a more narrow field of cards you can bring back with them, making them less likely to be broken as fast, I guess. You know, maybe one day there can be some 5-drop green battle card that literally breaks Plea for Salvation, and maybe Plea for Salvation will need to be banned because reanimating cards are always a kind of a soft spot in terms of being able to be broken really easily. If you can bring things back from the drop area, especially for no energy cost, that can get pretty busted pretty quick. But these cards, they pigeonhole you into very specific color combinations. They make your leader have to be a certain thing. They make the battle card you bring back have to be a certain thing. And it makes it easier for Bandai to design cards that they don't have to necessarily tiptoe around things like Child's Wish and World Peace. So in essence, that's my argument. To summarize, if you get rid of Child's Wish from World Peace, you can still have relevant Wish decks. There will still be a relevant Wish deck immediately, I think, if these cards go away. Dende Wish will be the premier one, and I think other ones will come out of the woodworks because the format will slow down, and other decks will have an ability to be experimented with and to play around. You know, the thing is that even though Child's Wish going away will hurt your Rogue Shenron deck, I'm sorry, but your Rogue Shenron deck already isn't very playable in the face of Super Shenron, in the face of AOD Dende. So, you know, those are my opinions, guys. Hopefully I was able to, you know, explain those pretty well. You know, let me know if you have any disagreements in the comments below. Let me know if you agree with me. Really want to hear your guys' thoughts. It's just more of a discussion video to get the ball rolling on this topic. I do think that the kind of arguments I presented are pretty logical, and they do lead to balanced results for the game and overall better results for the game. You know, just because they hit Child's Wish, they can still print new Wish cards that are more balanced, but also do really cool things and make for really cool decks that still allow for some creativity. So, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hey, welcome to the end card, and thank you so much for sitting through that, because honestly, I'm just doing this until I make a Digimon trading card game. So if you like Dragon Ball Super for some reason, give it a sub up above. Maybe check out some of our other content, and do not forget, Digimon is way better than Pokemon. With that being said, we will see you next time.